Hey guys, what's going on? So finally the review part. I finished this a while ago actually. Finished this before I started Ranger even. It's just simply that I never got out what I wanted to say on Enterprise. So I figured I'd reshoot it, but it took a little while. So here it is. It's done. As you can see, it looks pretty good. Not 100% happy with how the torpedo bulge turns out, but I will be doing another one. Enterprise is one of my favorite ships, so I want to do another one of her in 44 with that measure 33 or 32 4A, or is it 6B? Either one. But speaking on camo schemes, I just learned this today. This is probably inaccurate. So early 1945, the Navy was having a hard time finding blue pigment. So blue measure 22, 21, and 20 and 12 all became dark gray. So this would have been deck gray, which was a pretty dark gray, almost like this color. So yeah, and the color for this would have been another dark gray. So I think this would have been inaccurate, because if you look too at the thing issued out by whoever decides this, whether it's Nimitz or King, whoever it is, right? It specifically lists Enterprise's name in it. So yeah. So if you ever wanted to do a ship 45, make sure that your measure 22, 21 are going to be grays instead of blues. I don't think this affected every ship, but it seems like majority of them. Battleships, it didn't seem like it affected. Anywho, on to the kit itself, because that's why you're really here. The kit was really good. No complaints too much. There's a few things that I will say, but I find this with most carrier kits, oddly specifically all the Yorktown kits I built. Granted, it hasn't been a ton, but this all carriers, and it really has to do with the way you put on the hangar bay walls. I find them to be always a little bit touch and go on whether how good they go on there. And unfortunately, usually, I don't know if it's because the pieces are warped or what, but yeah, it's just usually not a great fit. And also, one last thing of the bad before we go on to the review of the kit. Just want to say, unfortunately, that I had an accident. It was on the John Alec live stream, which go check his channel, link below. Awesome channel. Love his stuff. Great work. I unfortunately knocked this off its base. So if you see any of the AA mount, the Orlican mounts especially, I recovered most of the Bofors mounts. However, some of the cannon barrels are still not there, unfortunately. Luckily, this wasn't a museum piece or anything. This was built for my enjoyment. Yeah, so unfortunately those are missing. It just flipped right on its flight deck, which hurt me a lot in the inside. Another thing that I didn't like was the flight deck. Anytime you have a multi-piece flight deck, you're gonna just have some ugly joins, and it can just be a little bit of a bear. And this was not too bad, but again, it ties back into the hangar bay walls being somewhat flexible and not a true joint. A lot of them were butt joints, so it just didn't fit in too well. But with some clamps and some super glue, it held its place, and generally it looks good. And I think it went on very well. Ponto's kit is really nice. The Orlican guns are just really nice looking. However, I don't think people are ever really going to look at them. The 5-inch 38s look fantastic. Honestly, I would just buy the veteran model stuff separately just because they look that good. But you really don't need it. I've said this a few times now. The kit, the photo etch that comes in the kit is really, really nice, and that's all you really need, quite honestly. Now, if you were to do what I did, I would recommend the Ponto set, just because it kind of comes with some extra gun emplacements and gun tubs and stuff that you can use for the added armament that she received in the later year of the war. But like I said, the Pontos was great. The instructions are not the best. Just it's hard to keep track. They're somewhat put together, like with the island being in like front and back of one page, but it's just not great either. There's no like indication at the top what it is, what you're looking at, and when you're looking at plastic in metal on a ship, sometimes it gets a little confusing. But yeah, the other thing that we had were those 20mm Oerlikon guns that were both on the bow and the stern of the ship, and honestly they look really good. Pretty detailed. First time ever working with a 3D printed part, so better than I expected. It just took them a little while to get there, which to be expected, and not holding against the company in any way. But they look good. Wouldn't be complete without it. Now I will say that if I were to do this again, so this was before that kamikaze hit knocked out that that deck, the deck elevator. So people who have said that these would have been 40s or quad 40s are right, but at this point in the war they were twin 40s. So that's just some random information. But yeah, overall guys, it's been a really good kit, really fun for the most part. The only complaints I really have were my painting. I just never found a shade of the blue that I liked. So yeah. Oh, and lastly, the other things that we added, the trumpeter aircraft. Of course, they're trumpeter aircraft. They're pretty good. Like I've said before too, I'm not a huge fan of the Hellcats. I just don't think there's something off about the Hellcats. I couldn't tell you what it is specifically, but they don't look bad, but they don't look... I just don't think they look fat enough, quite honestly. That's probably the best way to describe how I feel about them. The Avengers do, though, look really good, in my opinion. And then the decals that we've got from Starfighter, the decals from Starfighter, they look really good too. So no complaints there. The tail arrows, while subtle, they do add a nice bit of detail. Also too, I really do like the colors, especially the black on the underside of the Avengers, mostly because it's pretty striking. Usually you're used to seeing these white fins, or the white underside of these aircraft in the Pacific Theater, but since this was a night fighting group, wasn't there, and I think that's pretty striking. And the overall sea blue of the Hellcats, I also think, is quite the nice look as well. But really, guys, that's it. The kit was fantastic. I would not recommend it for a beginner, just because the reliance on photo etch for certain pieces would make it difficult. But if you had a little bit of practice and you were patient with the photo etch, I think you could do it. The Ponto set, if you really wanted to go all out on Enterprise, I get it, but it does not add enough detail where I think you can justify the price of it being as expensive, if not more expensive, than the ship itself. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. As remember, if you have any feedback for me, let me know. But like and comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.